Hey, welcome back to Living MN Outdoors. I'm Daniel, and thanks for tuning in to this week's fishing report. Before we dive into the fishing report, just want to remind you guys, if you use any of the guides or resorts mentioned in today's report, please let them know you saw them on Living MN Outdoors. And if you would like your pictures featured in next week's fishing report, send them to us on Facebook or to our email at livingmnoutdoors@gmail.com. And with that being said, let's dive right into this week's fishing report. All right, this week we're going to start out up on Lake Winnie. The majority of people who fished Winnie this past weekend on opener, they had some success fishing walleyes. A lot of limits caught, a lot of really close to limiting out, along with some perch and some really nice panfish mixed in. Now, as far as where you can find those walleyes, Tamarack Bay, 9 to 13 feet of water. The north end, 9 to 13 feet on rocks and gravel. And then on the south end of Lake Winnie, in 11 to 15 feet of water on break lines. Now, the best way to catch those walleyes, a jig and a shiner. The best colors for out there has been parrot, pink, green, and blue. So if you want to go ahead, throw some of them colors, you're more than likely going to catch some really nice walleyes. Now, some guys use slip bobbers and leeches as well, and they did have some success on that. But definitely the jig and shiner bite was the best and hottest bite out on Lake Winnie this past weekend. Now, as far as the perch bite goes, there is a good perch bite in 9 to 11 feet of water in the new weed growth. Pitching jigs with fat heads is the key to catching those nice perch. I'm sure you could soak a slip bobber over top of them with a leech as well, but the jig and a fat head is working as of right now. Now, as far as the panfish bite goes, the crappies and bluegills, they are up in the pencil reeds. Throw a slip bobber with either a plain hook or a small jig head. Tip that with a chunk of night crawler, a waxworm, or a small plastic, and you're more than likely going to catch some really nice panfish out on Lake Winnie. Now, as far as the pike bite goes, the pike are kind of everywhere. You're going to catch them no matter what you're throwing. So if you want to chase some pike, pull some crankbaits, pull some spoons, spinner baits, whatever you want to do there, pull them near the weeds and you're more than likely going to catch a ton of pike. Now, I didn't get any report for bass this week. I'm sure that'll start to pick up as the water temps increase. Currently out on Lake Winnie, the water temps range from 58 to 60 degrees. So the fishing should be hot for the next little while here, and we'll keep you up to date if anything changes. Now, if you're looking for a guide trip out on Lake Winnie, we highly recommend Scott from Zups Guide Service. He is one of the premier walleye guides in the state of Minnesota. So if you want to get up to Lake Winnie, learn a little bit about how to break down that fishery, catch some really nice walleyes, and just have a blast overall, check out Zups Guide Service. Now, Scott runs all-day trips, and he does run twilight trips. Those run from 5 to 9 p.m. So if you want to get out on Lake Winnie, watch the sunset, catch some nice walleyes, that twilight trip might be a great option for you. Now, if you're looking for a place to stay up on Lake Winnie, the Pines Resort, they have a beautiful resort there located on Tamarack Bay. They got boat slips, fish cleaning shack, bar and restaurant. They got live bait. Just found out they have shiners, jumbo leeches, night crawlers, whatever you could look for there, they have it. They do have some cabins available June 1st through the 8th, and then a ton of availability July, August, and September. So go ahead, get something put on the books, and find your way up to Lake Winnie. Now, the Pines Resort, they do have boat rentals as well. So if you don't want to tow a boat up there, you can rent a boat from them. Make sure you call ahead and take care of that. But if you guys are looking to get up to Lake Winnie and have a blast, go ahead and call Chad from the Pines Resort. All right, now moving over to Mille Lake. Fishing opener was really good out on Mille Lake, especially for the walleyes. The walleyes, they were located, some people caught them up shallow, 8 to 12 foot. Some people caught them out 12 to 18 foot. I think they're kind of scattered right now. But the best methods for catching those, as always on Mille Lake, a slip bobber and a leech worked really well. Otherwise, a jig and a minnow, or actually a jig and a paddle tail outproduced a minnow this past weekend. Now, areas to target those walleyes on, up on the north end, that first break on the sand is always a great option. Some of those shoreline rock structures such as Big Point, Indian Point, some of the island structures as well. Some of those shallower reefs are producing fish as well. Now, as far as the smallmouth bass bite goes, as I predicted last week, I had gotten some reports that the fish were up on beds spawning. I predicted that those were mostly males. From what I heard, I was correct. If you wanted to get into some of them bigger fish, they're still out a little bit deeper in that 10 to 14 feet. And then a ton of males are up in that 6 to 10 feet. But with this warm weather coming, I would suspect that those big females are going to be pushing up shallow any time now. Now, the best way to catch those smallmouth, a Ned rig like usual, that's the go-to on Mille Lake. But they did catch some on tubes as well. And then some guys caught them on plastic crawfish, but they were cutting the claws off of their crawfish because the fish tended to be a little bit spookier if the claws were still on those plastics. So just a little tip there for you. If you guys want to pitch around some plastic craws, cut the pinchers off. It helped the bite quite a bit this past weekend. Now, I didn't get any reports for pike or perch. I suspect that the perch are up in the weed lines in the bays, at least those resident bay perch that'll stay there all year. Otherwise, I would suspect that the main lake perch, they've probably pushed off a little bit deeper. You might get some mixed in with the walleyes, but my guess is they are headed off into the deep water. Now, if you guys are looking for a place to stay up on Mille Lake, we highly recommend Castles Resort in Isle Bay. They have some cabins available this coming weekend. They have rental pontoons. They're gonna start running their launch boat as well. They are within walking distance of grocery stores, shopping, bars and restaurants, bowling alley. So if you want to just go up there, spend a week or a weekend, plenty to do even when you're not out on the lake. So if you guys are looking to get up to Mille Lake this coming weekend or in the future, go ahead and call Jeff or Kimberly from Castles Resort. All right, now moving over to Leech Lake. The walleye bite out on Leech Lake for opener was kind of hit or miss. I talked to a lot of people who limited out really quick, and then I talked to some of those people who struggled all weekend. Now, as far as where the most success for those walleyes came from, 9 to 15 feet on rocks and gravel was kind of the general area where the most success occurred. Now, the morning bite was really tough, except for in Walker Bay and Agency Bay. They have a pretty strong morning bite going on right now. But then after the morning bite, you're better off making your way out onto the main lake, fishing West Goose, the Hardwoods, Duck, Traders Bay. Those areas have been producing the most fish once the morning bite is over. Now, there also is a really shallow bite going on, 3 to 6 feet of water, up in the weeds, throwing jigs, slip bobbers, slip bobber and a leech, or a jig and a minnow up into those shallow weeds has been producing some really nice fish as well, especially when that midday bite is getting slow. Now, as far as the best colors of jigs out on Leech right now, blue and white, parrot, and gold. So make sure you have some of those colors tied on, and you're more than likely going to pick off some really nice walleyes. Now, as far as the panfish bite goes up on Leech Lake, the panfish bite is on fire. Look up in the northern bays, Boy Bay, Sucker Bay, milfoil in 5 to 10 feet of water. Either throw a slip bobber with a little jig head and a minnow or a plastic, or you can pitch small jigs with plastics and you'll catch them that way as well. Just remember, guys, there is a reduced limit on the crappies up there. The crappies are really big, so please use selective harvest. Put those big females back, take a meal of them smaller ones, and just enjoy the beautiful panfish on Leech Lake. Now, as far as a pike bite or a bass bite, I did not get any information on that for Leech Lake this week. As that picks up, I will try to include that in future reports. But as of right now, the walleye and the panfish, those are the two main bites that are really firing off up there. And then with the perch are kind of mixed in with those walleyes or up in with some of them panfish as well. Now, if you guys are looking to get out on Leech Lake, you want to hire a guide, we highly recommend the guys from Leech Lake Guide Team LLC. They do still have some availability. So if you want to get out this weekend or a future weekend, make sure you go ahead, check them out. We always leave all of the guide and resorts information down in the description. Check them out on Facebook, their website, give them a call. But if you want to get up to Leech Lake and fish with a guide, you cannot go wrong with Leech Lake Guide Team LLC. All right, guys, well, that's going to do it for this week's fishing report. Really appreciate all the people who sent in photos to us this week. Glad you guys were able to get out, catch some nice fish. We really hope you can make it out again this weekend. Good luck, have fun. Remember, be kind at the boat ramp, have some patience, or lend a helping hand if somebody needs it. But most importantly, don't forget to get on out there and get living.